Hello, hello, awesome humans. All right, I've got a great, short, and punchy episode for you about a topic that I think is so essential for all of us. How do you make a big decision in your life or your career when you're not quite sure about the path that you should choose, right? We've all been in the situation, and maybe it is a new job you're considering, a new career, maybe it's a different position within your organization, maybe moving somewhere or a change in your relationship with someone. Maybe you're thinking about launching a business or starting a creative project, and like part of you wants to do it, but you're not sure if it's the right thing, right? If it's the right path. We've all been there. And so I want to offer you a strategy that I have found to be incredibly helpful to help you make those big decisions. And first, I want to share a quick story about what inspired me to record this episode today. I was having a conversation with my friend Dory a couple days ago, and he was telling me he felt a bit stuck because he's an entrepreneur. He's got this big opportunity for something that he's been working on for a while. But the catch is it's in a different city, pretty far away. He lives in Boston. It's far away. And he would have to make really big changes to go for it because he'd have to move there. So he'd have to give up his apartment. He's got a lot of friends here. So it's a huge change. And so when he was talking to me and he said, I'm excited, but is this the right thing? Is this the right move? And so what I said to him, and this is your strategy, I said, okay, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine that you have made this choice. Okay. You went for it. And it is now 12 months from now. And I want you to envision your future self 12 months from now, having made this decision. How do you feel? Just answer how do you feel? I said, feels really good. I was like, okay, what else? What else does your future self have to tell you? And he kind of closed his eyes and he said, well, the thing that my future self keeps saying is, if you don't do this now, you're always going to wonder what if. You're always going to be thinking, what if? And you're going to regret not taking this opportunity. And he was like, okay, yeah, it's the right thing. I'm going for it. It doesn't eliminate the challenges, right, that he has to face, but it gave him that very different perspective from which he could make this decision in an easier, more aligned way. And so this is the strategy that I encourage you to use when you have a big decision or a big change that you are making or a choice you have to make and you're not quite sure, is to envision that you've made this decision and it is now about a year from now, and connect to that, your future self. Like, have a conversation with your future self. How do you feel? Right? That's the first question to ask because it gets you out of your head and out of the overthinking. Like, how does it feel to have made that decision? And literally have a conversation. If you journal, you might just even talk to your future self. Like, ask your future self about having made this decision. Like, what are you experiencing? And if you're really stuck, like if you can't even envision making the decision, just connect to your future self 12 months from now and say like, hey, what do you think I should do? Here is why this strategy is so powerful. When we are looking at a decision or a choice from where we are, right? From our present moment reality. The mental map that we have is the one where we know our past, we know our present, and that's the mental map with which we're making this decision. When you tap into your future self 12 months from now and envision having made that decision, you are using a different mental map. And when we change the mental map in our minds, we see different aspects of a situation. We're able to tap into different ways we might feel about it, different things we haven't thought about before. So it's a very powerful way to shift the mental map with which you're making this decision, to shift your perspective. And I have found it incredibly helpful. One of the key things when you practice this that I really want to emphasize is remember that your brain has a negativity bias, right? The negativity bias simply means that our brains always focus more on what's negative, what could go wrong. And the reason your brain does that is very simple. Your brain wants to protect you from possible danger. And so it's always looking out for what could go wrong, right? What's the worst case scenario? And that's fine, right? It's nice to be alive, right? Our brain needs to do that. And when you are in this present moment looking at a potential significant change in your life, those are the first things your brain is going to think about. Like, what could go wrong? Why could this be bad? What am I losing as part of this, right? Like my friend Dory, I'm losing an apartment. I'm losing my circle of friends. When you shift into the future self, like I've made this decision, it's 12 months from now, you get to look at different things. So it's not the negativity bias, it's still there. It will never go away. But your future self has now experienced a situation. It also has access to some of the great stuff that has happened, right? And just like my friend Dory, when I said, how does it feel having made this decision? He just had this visceral response. Oh, it feels really good. Like I went for it. I don't have to doubt if this is going to work out or not. Like I went for it. I can now know if this is a great opportunity. So when you shift your perspective into the future self, your future self a year from now, having made this decision, it balances out your brain's negativity bias a bit, because instead of just worrying about this could go right, this could go wrong, what if this goes wrong, your brain's like, okay, we've made that decision. Now what? And so again, it starts to look for other aspects that might be being drowned out by the negativity bias if you don't make that shift. This is a strategy that I want you to practice. I have found it to be, like I said, incredibly helpful with me, with people I share it with, when it comes to kind of thinking about making a significant change in your life. I'd love to hear, as always, I'd love to hear how it goes. You can always shoot me an email, an ATALY@happier.com. I love hearing from you. That's all I have for our super short and punchy episode today. I hope this is helpful to you. And the last thing I'll say, as kind of something to marinate on, is we often think of ourselves as the product of our past, right? Choices we made, beliefs we have. And one of the big reasons that I speak to people, on stage about reinventability and do workshops and work with people individually and do this podcast is I want to shift that mindset. Because actually, yes, of course, our past impacts us. That's where we pick up a lot of our beliefs and behavior patterns and how we think about things. But the real motivator in our life is the vision we have for the future, right? And so doing this practice, evaluating, thinking about a decision you have to make or a choice you have to make from the perspective of your future self who has made that decision, allows you to tap into that wisdom of your future self that's in you, to tap into the guidance that that vision offers to you. And so it's actually part of the broader idea that, yes, your past impacts you, but you are not a slave to it. You get to make different choices based on what you want for yourself, for your life, for your work in the future. And when you connect to that future self, it allows you to make decisions from a place of alignment and clarity and alignment with what is really meaningful to you versus what you've always done or the old beliefs that you have. So that's another reason this is quite powerful. I hope this is super helpful to you. As always, if you enjoy this podcast, please rate and review it. And if there's someone in your life who you think could benefit from it, please share it with them. I will be back next week with you. And as I like to say, in your ear, if you're listening. Have an awesome week.